It probably just caught you at the end of that sentence. Yeah, we're running a bit late.
Yep.
But I've been podcasting all day.
Yeah.
But we are welcome back to Escape Reality Star Wars Talk, the podcast where we talk about Star Wars canon in order, except when we don't.
Yep. As is usual, I have been drugged to a different time and place.
I'm your host, Caleb.
Hi, I'm Seth. I
The other
talk
host.
Star Wars with this man.
Yeah, the other host.
Yep.
Who sometimes forgets to announce himself.
Why would I do that?
Because new people.
That is true.
Sorry, I needed a snack between shows.
He hasn't eaten anything
Since
yet
lunch.
today, so
Since lunch.
since lunch.
Yeah. Which was 3 hours ago, almost 4. That's how much I've been working today.
Yep.
But there's a few things that happened this week.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Gabriel Luna first.
All right.
Do you know who that is?
No.
Do you know about the Last of Us TV show?
Yes.
Have you watched the first episode yet?
Kind of.
He plays the brother.
Oh, Tommy.
He plays Tommy.
Okay.
Yeah, you might also know him as Ghost Rider in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Didn't
If
watch
you watched
that.
Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Okay. But yeah, he's Tommy. So he recently was in an interview because obviously The Last of Us just came out, and so obviously people were interviewing him and being, asking him questions.
I have a question for you, but it can wait until we've discussed Gabriel Luna.
So at some point, they asked him, "Hey, what project do you want to really be a part of?" And he mentioned, "Oh, I would like to be part of the High Republic, if they ever decided to adapt any of that stuff, and I actually know what character I would like to be." And then that was it. Like, that was all he was going to say. But then we're like, wait a minute, you can't just say that and not reveal who you want to play. Like, you can't just end the sentence there. You can't just say, I want to play somebody from the High Republic. No, you got to say who. I already know who because I obviously I was on Twitter when all this was going down. Who would you think that Gabriel Luna tried to play? And I'll give you a hint. It is one of the Jedi characters.
Thanks. That narrows it down a little bit.
If it helps, he's in all 3 books of the adult novels.
Is it Comac?
No.
Or Reef?
Nope.
Neither?
Reed's not in all 3 adult novels.
He's not?
No, he's not in any of the
Well, then the
adult
other options are Stellan and Elzar. Is it going for Stellan or Elzar?
For Elzar.
Oh, boy.
He wants to play Elzar.
I sure can't wait to see.
Now, first of all, I can absolutely see Gabriel Luna in that part.
I can't wait to see Michael Luna cut a woman in
Gabriel Luna?
Gabriel Luna. Who the fuck is Michael Luna?
Secondly, Charles Soule threw in his voice on this. And, of course, Charles Soule being the writer of Light of the Jedi and one of the heads of the High Republic Initiative. And he said absolutely Gabriel Luna fits playing the character, and he would love to see that as well.
Okay.
So we got official, from the voice of the creators of that character going, yeah.
Yeah, if that happens, yeah.
Now, of course, we're not getting a High Republic show that's based on that stuff.
We're not.
But not at least as of what we know of
Not at
coming.
the moment.
Yeah, at the moment.
God, if it would be great if it was, though.
Gabriel Luna fits so well, though. I would eat that up.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was our fun little, something fun happened in an interview and then expanded to Twitter.
Oh, you just going?
No, I didn't mean to start it. I hit full screen on it so that way when I show it to the audience, but that didn't work the way I was hoping.
Just a weird audio cue.
Yeah. Well, in case y'all don't know, some football happened. Right?
Fuck.
Yeah, some football happened, and you know what happens with football? They get trailers for things, right? Well, during one of the big games this past weekend, we got a Mando Season 3 trailer. I was going somewhere with it. It was going somewhere, and it fit where we were going. Let me change the size of it so that way y'all can see our pretty faces still while we're talking about it. He hasn't watched it yet.
No, I have not.
So we're gonna watch it together.
Because I try to avoid trailers until the day of the show.
I'm sorry.
Sometimes I'll see them beforehand because I'm like, fuck that.
Yeah.
But usually I wait until the show.
Unless it's for this show.
Yep. In which case I watch it beforehand.
So we're gonna watch the Mando season 3 trailer together.
Mm-hmm.
Our people are scattered like stars in the galaxy. What are we? What do we stand for? Being a Mandalorian is not just learning about how to fight. You also have to know how to navigate the galaxy. That way, you'll never be lost. Be forgiven for my transgressions.
R4.
This is the way. Something dangerous happening out there. By the time it becomes big enough for you to act, it'll be too late.
March 1st.
Mm.
All right. So it got you pumped? Are you? I know you haven't watched the first 2 seasons,
Mm-hmm.
and we'll be throwing you into the deep end with this with
Yep.
season 3.
He still has to go take his bath.
Yeah, because Book of Boba Fett left us with that.
Yep.
Book of Boba Fett left us with Mando needs to take a bath. He's taking his helmet off, so obviously now he's got to take a bath. Because if you take your helmet off, imagine all that sweat.
So many people are gonna hate that I've reduced was supposed to be like a religious ritual to the equivalent of taking a bath.
Except, not really, because like even the other Mandalorians are like, nah, your Mandos are crazy. They're part of a cult.
It's like, I'm still gonna stay with him.
I think, one, we're getting R4 back, which is from... So R4, specifically that R4 unit, is the one that sacrificed itself so that R2 could be taken by Luke. The one that blows its circuit when Uncle Owen's buying the droids. Because you know A New Hope.
Yep.
So, you know how Owen's like, oh, we'll buy that R4 unit, and then it blows a circuit?
Yep.
In canon, it has been revealed that it did it on purpose because it knew about the importance of R2's mission, because R2 told him, and he sacrificed himself so that R2 could complete his mission.
Don't worry, bro. I got you. Kaboo!
Now, I was in a VC not too long ago. I'm not going to name names, but somebody said that R4 should have stayed dead.
And?
But they were saying, like, and that also, like, they did. You don't understand.
No, I don't.
I forgot. You're a droid hater. I forgot.
I don't hate droids.
No, I understand. I understand.
No, I'm not upset that he's back.
He's anti-droids, y'all. I forgot.
You motherfucker. I thought, listen, I'm working on it, okay?
See, he admits he's a droid
I don't
racist.
hate droids.
What's that? What would that be called? A droid racist? What? A droidist?
Well, I could call the droid something else, but the Clone Wars are long gone. And that wouldn't
Would
be
that
socially
would you be doing it with the hard R?
No.
Oh, so it would just be clankus.
Yeah. However, if I see a battle droid, it might be a bad day. Nah. There. War's over, it's done.
I forget what game. I think I was watching Brooke play The Last of Us,
Mm-hmm.
and Clanker Talk came up,
Oh yeah?
and I made the same hard R joke, and she was like, "You can't be joking like that in my chat on Twitch."
Like, I don't hate droids. I just... My reasoning against them is that you have to really want to kill a droid. Like, to actively go out of your way. Because as long as their memory core is intact, they're still functionally alive. And I'm not someone... I don't believe in the, practice of erasing their...
Memory banks and all
Yeah.
that. Which is, there was a whole Clone Wars episode about, like,
Yeah.
oh, why didn't you wipe R2's memory?
I'm like, I'm not someone
I mean,
who's
in a
like-
way, I get why they were upset, because R2 carries strategic military
Yes.
plans. And I understand wiping that, but Anakin's like, but that's part of what makes him R2.
Yeah. I am usually against fucking with people's memories,
Mm-hmm.
and droids can form memories, so I am somewhat against that.
Well, yeah, because we've had the conversation. You differentiate once the droids have enough memories and gain a personality based on those memories. That's when you consider, okay, you can't fuck with them.
Yeah.
I think in general we shouldn't, because obviously if they have the ability to do that, then obviously from the get-go they are humanistic, I guess is the word I'm looking for. Sentient, that's the word I'm
We'll go
looking
with
for. Because if you have the ability to gain that type of intelligence, then obviously you must be sentient from the get-go.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's why I think from the get-go you shouldn't be allowed to do what people do to droids.
Yeah.
But you're more of like, up until they get that personality. At least the last time we talked. Last time we talked, anyways. That could have changed.
I'm also not someone who believes in the restraining bolts.
How are you gonna keep your droid from running away though? If you're a strict droid
I
owner,
don't fucking care. If it likes it here, it'll come back.
it's like a dog.
Yeah.
Forget leashes and collars. Just let your dog run off, and if they come back,
you've
then
reduced a droid to a dog?
no,
You're calling me out?
I'm calling you out.
Oh yeah, Mr. fucking no leash for your droid.
No, but I'm using what argument the people on your side would use. Don't try to twist this against me.
Oh, you sure?
Obi-Wan, you're turning the audience against me.
Oh, are you sure?
You're turning
I have
against
said
me.
nothing.
Now you see what I'm doing.
Oh god.
I'm waiting for you to continue that conversation.
God.
Have I done that myself?
Droids are... I don't hate them, but I'm like, they're a normal thing in Star Wars. I'm like, don't be a dick to them. Too much. Like, I'm not someone who's like,
Where do you draw the line with too much, mister?
I think it's at the point I'm like, where they're like, we don't fucking allow droids in here. And I'm like, why not? It's not like some of them eat. They're not going to do anything.
Well, that's the problem. They don't eat. They're not patrons.
I'm like, that's not really... I think it's one of those things where it's like, it's not really going to bother me if I go into a
I never understood in cantinas. I could understand if, like, a casino
Yeah.
said no droids. That's like you bring in whatever. I don't know. People can bring in... I don't know what they could bring in a casino to cheat, and that would be relevant to that. But
Yeah.
it would be that.
I don't know why they're like... to me, that's the weird part.
It's just anti-droid sentiment,
I'm like,
which the Clone Wars fed into.
yeah, the Clone Wars did not help that at all.
In fact, it probably took it a few decades back.
Yeah.
Because they were like, oh, these battle droids? Fuck that.
Yep. I'm like, they didn't really choose this, but
In fact,
your public image was certainly not helped by it.
the battle droids that we see later in other shows after the war has ended, they don't want anything to do with this war.
Like, we're done. They're like, nope, we're done. We did this 20 years ago, and it did not work out well for us.
So, but the reason droids is the R4 is also particularly important to that scene in Mando trailer is it shows growth for Din Djarin himself because he hates droids at the start of season 1. He has trauma.
Probably on account of them killing his family and friends.
He has some trauma with it, considering that he was a child during the Clone Wars.
The Clone Wars? Yeah. I would imagine that might leave a poor taste in one's mouth.
Yeah. And then the other thing that people have brought up is Order 66 appearing again and another live action thing because we see that scene with the Jedi at the door.
We can't quit dancing around it.
Look, Dave Filoni, I get it. You love the prequel era. I like the prequel era, although I'm kind of done with Clone Wars. I want pre-episode 1 or in between 1 and 2. I don't need this Clone Wars era. I'm done.
There's only so many times you can watch the Jedi get gunned down before it loses its emotional impact.
Exactly, and that's really what a lot of the conversation has come down to, is that I don't feel sad anymore with Order 66.
I feel indifferent.
I'm kind of actually more angry at the fact that they keep showing it.
So...
Now, the only reason that it could be important is if they don't focus on the sadness of it, but they focus on Grogu being rescued.
Yes.
But you were going to say, though, I'm sorry.
You spoke about, we talked about a little bit about The Last of Us earlier. I have something to say.
Is this going to be a hot take?
No. It's just a little bit spoilery if you haven't played The Last of Us.
Are we keeping
the first
Are we keeping
10
it
minutes?
Okay, so we're keeping it to stuff that's in the first episode.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, as a guy who...
Spoiler warning for The Last of Us, both the show and the movie.
Yes.
I mean, video game. I definitely recommend the show. And I definitely recommend the video game. But definitely recommend the show if you're not a gamer. Watch the first episode. So that's my recommendation there. And my spoiler warning. So if you haven't watched it and you want to check it out, do so. It's on HBO.
About every year, I go through The Last of Us at least once.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, seeing the scene where Sarah is killed in the show, I'm like, ow, this still hurts, but it doesn't hurt as much anymore.
So in that regard, you did it to yourself, though.
Yeah, I did that to myself. I'm like...
Whereas everybody else was like, oh my god, this is still really sad. And then, for you,
I'm
was
like,
just like, oh, I've done this enough that...
Yeah, it still hurts. Because it's like, she didn't do anything wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, oh no, this is really unfortunate. However, I'm like, Joel, later on, I'm like, this explains a lot.
Explains his relationship to Ellie.
Yeah.
And explains in the show, anyways, why he beats down that guard.
Yeah. Not fucking happy about things.
He was like, oh, another guard that's acting just like that soldier that told me that if I just did what he said, we'd be fine.
Yep. I do remember first time going through that, I'm like, first time going through the game, I'm like, he's not gonna do it. He wouldn't. Surely human decency will win out over...
In a zombie show? Human decency?
Yeah, I know. Forgive me, I was like 12 at the time.
I mean, even by then, The Walking Dead had been out a few years.
Yeah, but I didn't like the fucking Walking Dead.
Human decency in a zombie.
Now, you know that part of your brain that's like, I should get him right now, but I'm not going to. My brain did that, and I was like, I'm gonna put my faith in humanity in this moment, and it was instantly shattered. And it's like, all right, lesson learned. No more chances for anyone ever.
Which is good, because the government in The Last of Us is terrible.
Yeah, and so are the Fireflies. They're not any better.
Yeah.
We've discussed this. They both suck.
Yeah, they're two sides of the same coin. One is just more one is more authoritarianism.
Yeah.
And one is, I don't know.
One is a failure, and so's the other one.
Yeah, they're both bad.
Like, I can't,
One is just more authoritarian. And
I can't trust you. Because you keep fucking things up. But that's not what we're here to talk about.
I mean, that was our Last of Us talk in our Star Wars
Yeah.
podcast.
Back to Star Wars.
But yeah, your thoughts on the Order 66 thing?
I understand if people are going to be upset with it again. But at the same time, I'm like, we all know this happened. They're going to show it eventually.
I mean, but we've seen it.
Yeah. I think last time it was just a case of really unfortunate timing.
Well, last time was unfortunate timing, but when I say that, I mean, like, people are just tired because it's just like,
We know.
we've seen it in Clone Wars. We've seen it in Episode 3, obviously, because that's where it first shows up. But like I said, we see it in Clone Wars in Season 7. We see it in Bad Batch.
Mm-hmm.
We see it in
We see it in Kenobi.
Kenobi, which was the big one. That's the one you were referencing. We've seen it in Book of Boba Fett.
Yeah.
That's 4 different products alone that are canon sources.
Yep.
All movies or TV shows, and 3 of those are within the same, like, 2 to 3 year, like, airing.
Yep.
And then, of course, the Book of Boba Fett one came out at a terrible time because it was just after a school shooting.
Yeah. Here's my question. Which do you think I dislike more, droids or Jedi?
I know which one.
I didn't mean to ask this, and this is Star Wars related.
Yeah.
Do you think the Republic came to rely a bit too much on the Jedi?
Yes. While I like the Jedi, they obviously became a crutch to the Republic, and at the same time, the Jedi relied on the Republic to kind of dole out duties.
Okay.
When the Jedi didn't need to. The Jedi could have easily been going out to the Outer Rim doing what they've been doing for generations up until they...
Yep.
Like, they could have been helping out other systems, whether or not they were part of the Republic.
All right. I just wanted to ask that and get that out of the way.
No.
Because I've been thinking about it a little bit recently.
We've talked about this. I think we agree that one of the failings of the Republic and the Jedi is the lack of separation between church and state.
Yep.
So to speak. I mean, it's the best kind of
This
way
is the best comparison
Yeah.
we've got.
The Republic was becoming corrupt, therefore the Jedi were becoming corrupt.
Yep.
And while I don't necessarily blame people like Yoda and them,
Yeah.
they did become... There was hubris in it.
Yeah.
And that's something that even George says, that the hubris is the failing of the Jedi during the prequel era.
There's no way the Sith could be back.
And it's all... Fucking Kiadi Mundi.
What the fuck do you mean, man? This happened. For a guy who I think is gonna live for another 200 years, maybe you should read a fucking history book with that big brain of yours.
2 brains.
Oh, great. You didn't see this one coming. Fucking.
No, he's too busy being the only Jedi who can have sex. Well, get married. A lot of Jedi can have sex. It's just you can't have a relation.
Yeah.
It's that friends with benefits situation.
All right.
Can we remake it? You know how there was that time one year where there were 2 friends with benefits movies that came out around the same time, and one of them was like Ashton Kutcher and Mila Kunis, and the other was, I don't know who was in the other one. Can we have like a Star Wars version of that? But it just stars Kiadi Mundi and all of his 12 wives. Now, the reason for Ki-Adi-Mundi getting married is...
Isn't it because,
It's
like,
because his race is,
they're
like...
about to die out?
Yeah, they're an endangered species. Mainly because there are more women than men. And so, like, the men have to... What a weird way to be like, yes, polygamy in Star Wars.
On account
Which
of...
I'm not against polygamy, like, in
No.
general, as long as it's healthy. That's the key factor here, Internet. Healthy polygamy. But the
It's how they go about it. It's a bit weird.
yeah, it's like we have to justify our polygamy in Star Wars.
Well, I think it's more we have to justify it for a Jedi.
But yeah,
Because at that point in time, you know.
at that point, we didn't even know that Jedi could have sex. Even though George has always said, yeah, they could do that, they just can't have attachments.
Yeah. God. All right. Got a bit off track.
Speaking of Jedi that lack attachments,
What?
I say that very ironically, considering all the attachments he has. He just doesn't let him control him. Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Yeah, that's what we're here to talk about today.
We're here to talk about an Obi-Wan Kenobi comic.
A Jedi's Purpose.
Yeah, which
Where-
is the subtitle they came up with after all the issues came out.
Yep.
Like, the comic was just called Obi-Wan,
Yep.
which was confusing because when this comic was coming out, so was the TV show.
Oh, great. Obi-Wan and Kenobi.
so
We
it's
will
like,
separate the two for two different shows.
but they were both called Obi-Wan, and it's just like, oh, which
No,
Obi-Wan?
I thought the show was called Kenobi.
No, it's called Obi-Wan.
Oh, boy, that's not going to be fucking confusing.
I think it's called Obi-Wan Kenobi. I think it's just like
Oh,
but still, that's very confusing.
yeah.
Because it's like, oh, what are we talking about? Obi-Wan. The show? We already talked
The
about
show
that.
or the comic?
It's like, we already talked about the show. No. We're talking about the comic.
This is another fucking McLeod situation.
McLeod? Which McLeod? Which vintage? The 1400s or the 1500s?
The blonde one?
Okay, so the 1400s.
Okay, yeah.
Actually, I think it's 13 and 14, sorry.
Hmm.
Because I think Duncan says he's 1400s.
Yeah, I guess.
Anyway, so I guess it's 13 and 14 because they're 100
Yep.
years apart. Anyways, so you want the 1300s vintage. That's some good wine. No. Although some people would disagree with me when it comes to the McLeods. Some people would say the 1400s vintage is the best vintage. Mainly because I like Adrian Paul.
Mm.
Which I can see. I think our other host for that show that we haven't developed yet has said that they like the 1400s vintage.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're here to talk Obi-Wan.
Yeah.
Spoiler warnings for the Obi-Wan comic.
It's sad.
Yeah. So, do we want to give a little bit of for the people that might want to check it
Yeah.
out? Would you
Spoiler
recommend?
alert.
Yeah. Would you recommend it?
Yes.
Okay.
Also, we're going to be covering all of it. So, that's your one warning today.
So the premise is very similar to the last comic we reviewed, the Halcyon Legacy,
Mhm.
where it's like main story going on and then a bunch of like
Short
short
stories.
stories about related to the main event.
Mhm.
In this case, it's Obi-Wan is on Tatooine,
Yep.
waiting out a sandstorm.
Yep.
Meanwhile, reflecting on his life and writing it in his journal,
Yep.
which is something that was introduced in the 2015 Star Wars comic.
All right.
They entered. I'm going to provide a little, because
Well,
a little bit of apocrypha, I guess.
Yep.
Fun facts. The Journal of Obi-Wan Kenobi was originally introduced in the 2015 comic for Star Wars, the mainline comic. During that run, which is canon, it takes place between episodes 4 and 5.
okay.
And in it, Luke finds the journal and he starts reading passages from it, and he reads like 3 different passages. One is the first 2 are like points of Obi-Wan's life on Tatooine,
Yep.
which one of them connects to Luke directly because it's like Obi-Wan and Uncle Owen thing. And then the third one is not about Obi-Wan. It's actually about Yoda
Mm.
because it's a story that Yoda told Obi-Wan, and Obi-Wan wrote it in his journal.
Obi-Wan for the first 2 entries. Owen still doesn't fucking like that I'm here, but he's gonna have to deal with it.
Especially since those journal entries take place after the Obi-Wan Kenobi TV show.
Yeah.
So, which in that show they feel like it looks like they found like ground where they're like, okay, I don't like that you're here, but I'm not gonna like actively hate you.
Yeah, it's like I'm not as mad at you because you killed my.
And maybe you can see Luke once or twice.
Yeah.
Not cousin, brother. It's half brother.
Half brother.
Well, stepbrother? Stepbrother.
Stepbrother. I'm still mad at you for that, but I'm not as mad as I was.
Which Anakin and Owen's relationship is weird because they never really know each other.
Yeah. Saw him busted up in a wheelchair once.
Well, that's that.
Or is that a different one?
That's Klieg.
Okay.
That's Owen's dad. The one who frees Shmi.
Yep.
Owen is
Owen's
the Edgerton, Joel Edgerton.
Okay.
But yeah, so sandstorm's going on.
Yeah,
or it's approaching, and Obi-Wan's like, all right,
better go and fucking make preparations, I guess.
So he ties up his Eopie, and he goes to make sure that his water is set. That way he can have water. And then he goes into the basement of his house to go write in his journal.
Yep.
And the first issue is his childhood.
Yeah, him as a youngling on Coruscant.
And my best guess is this has to take place. So this has to take place before Padawan, because this is before he's chosen by Qui-Gon.
Mm-hmm.
This is when he's still a youngling, and he runs into one of his friends, and because he sneaks out of the temple, because he finds out that his friend snuck out.
Yeah, and he's like, "Hey, what's going on?"
And they're all about to get ready for the gathering, not the Highlander kind. In the Star Wars kind, where they're getting ready to get their crystals for their lightsabers. Because as a youngling, they go to the gathering, which is the younglings all go to Ilum and get their lightsaber crystals. Although, I guess it's also like Highlander because they can die in the process.
I'm trying super hard not to laugh
at the idea of younglings fighting to the death, Highlander style.
It shouldn't be so funny. It's so dumb. Because I know that's not what it is. I mean, it is very important though. Like as a Jedi Padawan.
But anyway, so Obi-Wan's friend Garen is like, "Nah, I'm not fit to be a Jedi." And
also, my dad. I keep getting visions of like my dad being tortured.
So I'm gonna go look into that, and I'm leaving the Jedi Order. Bye.
What? Wait. No, don't do that.
And she literally jumps off the temple.
I swear to God, people in Coruscant just like to jump off of buildings.
Speaking of, Obi-Wan also does it to follow her without shoes, whereas at least she was fully dressed. Obi-Wan's like in his jammies.
Obi-Wan's in his fucking PJs.
He's in his jammies going, you know what? I'll follow.
Yep.
Once again, going back to my earlier joke, he has attachments.
Oh yeah, he does.
Thing is, though, he can let them go. That's what makes him a better Jedi. But yeah, so he manages to track her down into like the worst parts of.
Why did you go to Crime Alley?
He finds these criminals who surround him and are like, "Hey, what you got on you?" Nothing.
Like, I have nothing.
Well, we'll still
We're gonna beat you.
Yeah.
I guess.
Because you're still like a Jedi who thinks that you can take us on. Because Obi-Wan gets into like fighting position.
Yeah. He tries a mind trick first, and he does pretty well until one of the friends shakes him out of it and is like, "No,
that's a mind trick, you dummy.
We know what this is. We live on
Coruscant." Speaking of going back to Mando season 3, lot post episode 6 Coruscant.
Oh boy,
did you notice that in the trailer?
Yeah, I did. I didn't think about it.
Because we haven't seen post-episode, like, visually, we haven't seen post-episode 6 Coruscant.
We know it exists.
And we've read it because it's in Aftermath novels. I've read it anyways. He hasn't gone to Aftermath novels yet. But it exists, and it's a thing. I'm curious
As to how
that would reflect with Imperials there still, because in Aftermath, oh boy, after the second Death Star gets destroyed,
they are mad.
there's some riots.
Oh yeah, the death of a major political leader caused a riot on a world where they're liked.
Yeah, some statues got knocked over, some people died.
Mm.
It was a thing.
A bit of a mess.
But yeah, so anyways, he runs into the leader of these like this group of ne'er-do-wells.
And he holds his own for a bit.
Well, he's not fighting them because she shows up and is like, "Hey, your friend gave me this necklace here that's useful as payment, and I'm gonna use it to,
Yeah. And she's like, all right, yeah, I'll take y'all off Coruscant. Gladly.
Yeah, because basically Garen is asking to be smuggled off.
Yeah.
And Obi-Wan's like, well, I guess if you're going to be smuggled off, I'll go with you. Turns out they're not being smuggled off.
No.
They're just being kidnapped and taken to, like, well, they are being smuggled off, but not to where she wanted to go.
It's like, all right, plans changed.
You're now going to be child labor.
Yep. Before, it was just, this necklace was just payment enough to smuggle you off, because I thought you were just some random street rat.
But after witnessing your buddy fight my men...
Now I know that you're two Force-sensitive children.
You know how much somebody pays for that? So...
Yeah.
Obviously, that does not go well for them. They manage to break free and escape. They don't really fight. They just run away.
They just run away because they have guns.
Yeah.
And we are children. We might have the Force, but it's a bit much.
And once again, Obi-Wan's like, hey, so back to the temple? And Garen's like, no,
Nah.
I appreciate you helping, but...
I'm going to go look for my dad.
And Obi-Wan's like, okay, well, I guess we're on different paths then.
Bye.
Like, he's sad, obviously.
Yeah.
Like, and so he approaches back to the Jedi Temple where Yoda is waiting. Because Yoda knows all.
Yep.
And Yoda's like, okay, she left, huh? And he's like, yeah, I tried to get her, but she didn't want to stay. And he's like, yeah, that's fine. It happens.
It happens sometimes.
But also, because you snuck out, here you go, cleaning duties.
He's like, think about how you're going to have to handle yourself now.
Because you can't use her as a crutch.
Yep.
Because, in a way, Obi-Wan was using her as, like...
Yeah.
He was projecting, because he was like, aren't you afraid to leave and all that? And it's like, no, she's not. She's ready to leave. You're the one that's afraid.
Yeah.
You're the one with the fear. And that's kind of the lesson Yoda's passing is like, hey, you're the one that's scared. But he's not saying that. He's just like, I'll let you figure out that lesson on your own.
You're scared because you're alone now. And you're worried that without your friend, you're not going to be able to do stuff.
Well, even deeper than that, you're worried that without the Jedi, you wouldn't be who you are.
Okay, that's not how I read that. Because I
think that is something though that's a deeper lesson for Obi-Wan. Like as we've looked over Obi-Wan's life, that's a very much. I think Obi-Wan, especially in the present, like he's overcome that fear, but it is a fear that he's had, which is like, who am I if I'm not a Jedi? And I think, while this comic doesn't outright say that's the lesson, I do think overall throughout the entire series, once we get through all 5 issues, and on top of that, the TV show and anything else involving Obi-Wan, that's kind of become a lesson for people that happen to know Obi-Wan as a character. That's more of a bonus lesson, I think, if anything. That's not a, in this comic strictly. That's a, I'm reading into this because I know Obi-Wan. I guess that's more of a my specific reading because of that. That's obviously not a reading everybody will pick.
Yeah.
Second issue, more of, oh boy.
God, I sure hope this sandstorm goes well for me.
It's getting stronger.
However.
And he's thinking back also on his time against Darth Maul from Rebels.
He's like,
which that is not how that happened. Their lightsabers never touched.
No, they do. Because it's 1, 2, 3, 4.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Yeah. I thought he did the dun, and then he just did, like, Samurai Cut, if I remember correctly, I guess.
So is Maul swings once with that side that
Mhm.
he blocks. He swings again with the other one.
It's been a while.
Then he goes for the same trick on Qui-Gon, and Obi-Wan just cuts it in
That's
half.
right. That's right. It's been a minute since I watched that episode of
Yeah.
I-
And
Twin Sons. Is a good episode though.
Mhm. Obi-Wan's thinking like, man, every Sith Lord I've fought has really just been very, very sad.
Yeah, because he's just like, man, because he's like Darth Maul. I feel bad for because like Maul wasn't deep down a terrible person. He just he went down the wrong path.
Yeah, it's like
He's
his
like,
choices brought him here,
yeah,
and I understand
still
how they got here.
and it's still his choices that he had to make, which does make him bad in that extent. But at the end of it, when he was dying, I realized like I could see the sadness and the fear in him as he died. Once again, that type of, well, he uses dread and horror rather than fear, but once again, fear being a common theme in these comics. Speaking of fear, the short story.
Returning to the past.
We go back to the past, this time a few years ahead. I think, so at this point, we're closer to episode 1.
Yep.
We are past even Master and Apprentice, I would argue, because Obi-Wan looks about the same age as he is in episode 1, whereas Master and Apprentice, he's a little bit closer to 16.
Yeah.
Whereas
Obi-Wan.
by episode 1, he's like 17, 18.
Yep. Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon are having a conversation, and Obi-Wan's like, this is some bullshit. This planet shouldn't be doing that.
Yeah, because it's I forget what it's specifically doing. It's just the way that it's interacting with spaceships and
Yeah. And how light isn't working.
yeah, light's not working. Like to the fact
the way it should be.
yeah, to the fact that they have to put on some night vision macro binoculars to kind of see where they're going as they land on this rainy planet, and
Qui-Gon's like, hey, don't fucking worry about how the light is working right now. It's not important. It's not why we're here.
one of those moments of keep your mind on the task at hand. You know,
Yeah.
the keep your mind on the present. That's it.
Yep.
But I should be mindful of the future, not at the cost of the moment.
Yep.
So
Obi-Wan is trying to figure out throughout this entire comic, he's like, why is it so goddamn dark in here?
in fact, their lightsabers are even dimmer.
Yeah.
They do find some blood once they enter this like facility.
This is a lot of blood.
Because they're here because they got a distress call.
Yeah.
There was a distress call that went out, and they were like, okay, one, it's weird that this planet even had a distress call, because like for the most part we didn't know that like there was much going on here.
Yeah, they're like, this is normal.
Um,
It's kind of backwater. Nothing really happens here.
it's just a minor outpost.
Yeah.
Turns out that minor outpost is all gone.
Yep.
They find the guy who was cut up.
Find a guy who's bleeding out.
Yeah, and so he's just like, hey, I'm dying.
Yep.
Help me. Also, crazy gone mad. Something happened here.
This one of the workers just fucking lost it.
So Qui-Gon's looking for power, while he sends Obi-Wan to go look for some Qui-Gon's trying to turn it on, and he's like, I can't get it on. Can you go find the auxiliary powers?
Yeah.
And so,
Everyone's like, all right, I'll go.
but before they can, there's a noise.
Roar.
Yeah. And somebody else crying for help. So
All
they
right, sabers out. Let's go.
Yep. So they go down these stairs further into the basement, where they follow the voice that's calling for help, only to find some sort of monster.
Yep.
Drenched in blood.
We sure don't know what that looks like.
Yeah, I mean, you say werewolf,
You call a spade a spade.
I say just monster. But yeah, so they get into this fight
Yep.
with it.
It is fucking them up.
Yeah, it kicks Obi-Wan's ass.
He's like, okay,
So
night vision's not working.
he does the Jedi thing of taking off the night vision goggles, closing his eyes, and just following the Force, which then allows him to kick the creature's butt.
Yep.
And just as Just as he does, one of the other workers at the mines is like, explains that he's a thief from one of the other mines nearby.
Yeah, the man they found all cut up, and it's like, hey, he's not supposed to be here. He tried to rob us,
Yeah.
and they cut off the power because they had to do some dumb bullshit.
Yeah, because once they get deeper into the mines, they find out that they have like these essentially blood diamonds.
Yeah,
I mean, where they're like, yeah, this is what we're fighting over. And Qui-Gon's like, God damn it.
why is everywhere in this fucking place corrupt?
Yeah. And
Could I just go to one planet without some bullshit?
And so they find like the one of the foremans.
Yeah.
And he's like, he explains what's going on. He's like, our power's been cut off. We had some thieves come in. They murdered 6 of my guys. And now they're hiding out. And they're all like wolf-like creatures.
There's a fundamental
Oh
misunderstanding.
yeah, Obi-Wan calls it that, and then
There's a wolf-like creature fucking people up.
oh yeah, but they're not. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, one of them
Yeah.
There's a wolf. Sorry.
And he goes, wait a minute. You mean that's one of my workers?
Oh yeah, that's one of his guys. That's
And
right.
he's like,
A
they-
devil, which is not a werewolf, that is actually an alien species
yeah.
in Star
I'm like,
Wars.
let's face facts. This is a werewolf story in Star Wars.
Leave the devils alone. That
They're not bad.
That sounds-
like this
that
one
sounds
isn't
fascist.
his. Okay, pal.
you're saying that all devils are werewolves?
No, this is
Are you saying we should be afraid of the devils?
no. This is the
Just because they
real-world
look like-
comparison I am making.
Just because they look like wolves, we should be afraid of them.
No, I think you should be concerned for their health, considering they're affected by literally dim light.
Yeah, they absorb visible light. Yeah.
Yeah, they can also turn invisible.
Leave the devils alone.
And
That sounds.
unfortunately, these thieves snuck into the wrong facility with the wrong time and the wrong people.
Because there's some radiation.
Yep, and it's really what's causing the problem
Yeah.
of them being fucked up.
And so
They do
Rosak,
deserve it, though.
so Rosak shows up, the devil,
Mm.
and kills the foreman,
That's not.
or the guy that was telling.
Hmm.
He's like a
The
boss
foreman
man.
is the Gand.
Yeah, he cuts him. Look, right there.
Oh,
Yeah, he does.
Never mind.
He
Oh,
does kill
thank-
the foreman. I'm looking right at it.
Never mind. I thought he was killing the guy that's right next to it.
No, he killed. Yeah. Well, no, he didn't kill him. Obi-Wan manages to pull him
Yeah.
apart at the last second,
Like-
but he's about to.
He gets very close.
He grabbed him by the throat, man.
Yeah.
But Obi-Wan managed to save the foreman at the last second.
And they're like,
And-
okay.
And so now they're like, all right, time to figure out how to deal with this. And they, like, Qui-Gon is playing riddles with Obi-Wan because he's trying to train him.
He's trying to give him a lesson in the middle of this scenario.
And so they manage to figure out that they can use the accelerite, the fuel rods, which are like the crystals and
Yep.
all that they've been mining. And they can use that to their advantage to kind of, like, essentially
you want me
overpower the facility.
You want me to put this into like your nuclear power? And they all collectively went, yes.
So they basically are like, we're going to overpower the facility, basically overclock it.
Yep.
And put so much light and power that it just undoes what's going on.
Yeah.
And it works.
Yeah.
Obi-Wan has to stand in the middle of it, and he loses his eyesight for
For a
few
while.
weeks, but he'll be fine.
Yep.
And
And the devil comes out and apologizes. He's like, I'm sorry that I went on a rampage.
sorry I almost killed you.
Yeah. And this is my issue with it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I assume Adefals are a common enough species. And this isn't really his fault. I don't blame him for this. But I'm like, and clearly the crew didn't know going in. And he apologizes for it. I'm like, this is one of those times where it's like, it's not your fault, man. You really don't need to apologize for this.
Which they do basically tell him that.
Yeah.
He's like, but I still killed people.
It's
And they're like,
Yeah, they did do it to themselves though.
For the most part, the only people you killed were the thieves.
Yeah. I mean, you fucked me up, but you didn't kill me.
Yeah. And so, what were you gonna say though, or were you gonna add to that, or was that it?
No, that was it.
Oh, okay.
That was like my one issue with it. It's like this one really is not your fault, man.
Yeah. And so that's the end of issue
Yep.
2, and we hit issue 3 with the storm upon us.
Yep.
It's here.
The storm has descended.
And at this point, Obi-Wan is thinking back now on the Clone Wars because he's starting to wonder if he should intervene again.
Should I get involved in this one?
Because at this point, we're hitting close to,
Yeah.
like, we're getting to a point where the Rebel Alliance is a thing.
Yeah.
And, like, obviously war is not upon us yet, because it's not really upon us until Rogue One.
It's on the horizon at the moment.
Like
You
everybody
can
knows
see
it's
it,
coming.
Everyone knows it's gonna happen.
But the question is when.
When? Yeah.
It's who's going to be the first to do the big shot.
What will be the thing that kicks this off in full swing?
And honestly, you could probably say it starts in Rebels, actually, with, like, when the Rebel Alliance is officially formed, and they're like, all right, we're one big unit now. But I think you could also wait until, say, Rogue One, because that's the first big conflict between
Yeah.
the full Rebel Alliance and the Empire.
Like the first open scale.
Yeah, with the Battle of Scarif.
Yep.
But once again, Obi-Wan's thinking on this, and he's like, is the
should
Jedi's purpose to be involved? Because the last time we were involved, it did not go well.
Did not go well.
In fact, we were used. We were puppets.
Yep. And he's thinking, let me think about the worst time of the worst battle I ever had.
Yeah, so, like...
Before there were incidents on, like, other planets where... other battles where it was really bad, Grievous showed up and fucked up our guys.
So there was actually one battle in particular, though, that will always affect him.
Yeah.
And it's the Battle of Abrion.
Abrion Bridge.
Yeah, Abrion Bridge. Which, this feels like the most, like, World War II, like, war story ever, where it's like, war is not glorified whatsoever in this particular short. So he's in a meeting with our boy Admiral
Yularen.
Yularen. Yeah, Admiral Yularen.
And he's going, and he's like, they're discussing tactically. They're like, no matter what we do, it's gonna be fucking bad.
It's gonna be a
for
bloodbath.
us.
Yeah.
They're like, we can't
go straight down it
because that's not gonna go well.
We can't really go around it.
And we can't hit it from above either. And there's no going under it either.
And so they're partnered up with some, like, basically some separatists on Abrion that work with the that are working with the Republic. So separatists within the culture of Abrion, because they're like, I don't like the government and that they're going with the CIS.
Mm-hmm.
And so he's like, his name is Commander McKadrix, and he's like, hey, Obi-Wan, you, me, we're gonna do this, and we're gonna figure out a way to get that bridge. And basically, it does come down to, okay, we are gonna have to just go down it.
We're just going to have to go through it because we don't have any other options.
So, full on, like, once again, World War II, like, it is dark, storm, and it's very much beaches of Normandy.
Yeah.
They're on, like, instead of on boats, though, they're in their landing crafts
To
flying.
put it mildly, almost everything that could go wrong does go wrong.
Yeah, pretty much all the landing crafts except 2 get shot out of the sky, and even then, like, they still get shot out after after our main characters get off of them.
Yep.
And so, like, and this is one of the early battles with Obi-Wan and Cody.
Yeah.
Too. So they're still forming their bond, and, like, this whole situation goes down.
Yeah.
And
also, there's
Iwo Jima style, they have, like, a flag that they're like carrying throughout, and they help the flag waver make it through.
Also, there's this young fucking punk.
Oh yeah, the general's a lieutenant
who
or commander. It's Lieutenant
Yeah.
Oron.
who keeps pushing forward, but is taking considerable losses, even more so than Obi-Wan and the clones, because he's trying to rush it.
Mm-hmm.
And he is making progress, but not.
Yeah.
It's still bad.
Unfortunately, things don't go well for Oron because while he and the commander were making like lightheartedness of it and kind of going, "Hey, who's gonna get there first?"
Yep.
Lieutenant does not make it.
No.
He
Does
is
not.
dead. He gets blown up. And in fact, this goes so poorly that they do end up having to. I think they give up the bridge.
They succeed in their objective, which is to get important plans, because if they don't get them, then the Republic ships will stop working because they built a really big gun that disables ships with those plans.
Yeah, so they managed to just barely get that.
They get that, and they're like, wait, where's our friends
what?
who are supposed to be on the other side of the bridge?
Which actually, by then, they had already surrendered the bridge. They were already like, we got to pull back. The only reason that they didn't was so that way they could finish that objective.
Yep.
Like, people were already starting to pull back. It was just Obi-Wan, Cody, and the flag bearer that stayed while Commander Kedrix was getting his men pulled back along with the other clones.
Yep.
And then the flag bearer dies.
Yeah.
Obi-Wan fights an IG-88 droid, that IG droid that shows up.
God damn it.
But thankfully, before it can kill Obi-Wan, who is like, he might have actually died to this droid because of how bad this battle went. Kedrix thankfully showed up and is like, hey, I'm here to help.
Yep.
And so, yeah, so then they pull away, and Obi-Wan, of course, is like, goddamn, war is hell. Like, this is his
Just
war is hell
having a-
moment.
Like, fuck this.
Like, the light still won, but damn.
I hate this so much.
So, with the storm getting even more
Yeah.
heavy, which we're in issue 4 now,
Mm-hmm.
we get in a way, a part 2
Yes.
to that story.
A continuation.
The Clone Wars is still going on. We get some more like reflection on like the relationship between Obi-Wan and Anakin at this point.
Yeah.
Even some mention of, oh, we've gone through a lot. We've even like they show Ventress
Yeah.
to show off
we
like
fought Ventress
he doesn't
a
say it,
couple
but
of
like
times.
he doesn't say it, but he's like, yeah, we've gone through a lot. We're brothers now. Like we were more father and son, but now we're brothers at this point. And Lauren is tired of Anakin shenanigans by this point.
Fucker.
And-
Never goes and follows orders.
Sorry, McKeedrix. I kept saying Keedrix. I kept shorting it. But Yularen is like, hey, so about your buddy McKeedrix from at this point a couple years ago, because like that first battle was like the beginning of the war.
Really early in the war.
Now we're like near the end of the war, so it's like 2 years ago essentially.
Yeah. It's like, hey, your former comrade is wiling out.
He's in fact basically leading a cult at this point.
He's gone full cult leader.
He says rogue, but like they talk about it, and he's like, we heard something about the Death Wind, and Anakin's like, oh, you mean that spice trade corridor? Because of course Anakin would know that. Yeah. And he's like, no.
No, I mean the gang.
The execution squad specifically.
The
like,
what?
Yeah. Oh yeah, there's these people that will just ambush separatist, high-ranking people and just gun them down, whether or not they're like.
They do that to Republic people too.
Yeah.
They're like, yeah, there's
like originally it was just separatists, but then it became like, oh, now he's just aiming for any
high-ranking official from either side.
Yeah, like it's gotten bad where like he'll just gun them down because he claims he doesn't want the war to continue, but he's doing this as like his act of proving that.
Yeah.
And it's just like, it's become a problem. And Obi-Wan's like, why is he killing indiscriminately? That
doesn't make sense. That's not who I saw that day.
And Yularen's just like, I think the war just broke him. Because like I said, this is basically McKeedrix's way of acting out about the war. Because by this point in the war,
people are done.
Civilians, specific. It's very...
Like a lot of people are done.
While Return of the Jedi is the film where George tries to analog the U.S. and the Vietnam War.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like the Clone Wars show is even closer representation of that, of just like the exhaustion of
Yeah.
people when it came to how like the war was going, like, and like military perspective versus everyday person perspective, where like the military was like, yeah, hell yeah, we got to be there and do this for freedom, and everyday man was just like, do we though?
It's a case of like understanding it from one angle and then seeing it from another.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, why are we here?
And so yeah, oh man, that one panel
Where-
of McKeedrick's just covered in blood. That just gets the point across.
Yeah.
Of, like-
I'm like, that's a crazy person.
So like apparently Abrion Bridge was the breaking, like
Yeah.
he didn't, like he did a couple more battles after that, but Abrion Bridge did some damage to him.
Yeah.
And so because Obi-Wan is the closest to him that the Republic has their hands on, they're just
They're
like, hey,
we're sending you.
yeah, we're sending you.
I
And we're,
need you to go kill him.
and we're gonna send Anakin with you.
Yep.
And Obi-Wan's like, okay, I guess I'll kill him. And Anakin, strangely enough,
He's like, whoa,
Of-
whoa there.
of all the characters, he is strangely enough the one that's like, wait a minute.
This is Anakin and Obi-Wan's like me drawing a line at cutting someone down in an ICU.
Yeah, it's very strange that of all the people, Anakin's like, wait a minute,
Whoa,
hold
whoa,
on.
whoa, whoa.
Because usually he's
Just
gung ho.
like, just fucking get him.
Yeah.
But it's like, no,
Anakin's
that's
like,
not the Jedi way.
and also he was your friend,
He-
like or comrade. He
Yeah.
was, like he was your brother in arms. Like we should at least try talking to him
Yep.
first.
Also, this bit right here, I'm like,
Oh, where the clones are
Cool.
just hanging out, like the armor.
oh yeah, hanging out's one way to describe it.
I was gonna say hanging out on the like. It's very much, without showing it, it's very much like that scene in Pirates of the Caribbean
Mm.
where they like when Jack Sparrow's at the beginning when he's
The fucking gallows.
with the gallows and he just takes off his hat. It's that. It's essentially that with clones.
Fortunately, there's no one in there.
Yeah.
However, it's not a very.
Anakin is still like,
I
those
don't like this.
they're probably still dead. Because Anakin's like, I wonder what happened to the men that were in that armor.
I do like this page right here.
Oh yeah. So with Obi-Wan thinking back on
Yeah.
other people he's had to
It's like,
kill. Because at the time he believed he killed him.
Yep.
Because this is, I think, probably before. Because they don't reference him coming back, so it has to be before he realizes Maul came back. And
like he's thinking, man.
into the mic, please.
He's thinking, man, I sure did kill a lot of people since this war started.
And even before then, I killed
Yeah.
that Sith Lord Maul. I cleaved him in two after he killed my master.
Master Qui-Gon died before my eyes, and then I cleaved Maul in two, and then the war began.
Which is like, which is even sadder because Obi-Wan's like, man, I wished Anakin didn't have to go through this.
Yeah, he's like, I really wish I didn't have to put Anakin through this.
And so,
They continue on.
yeah, so they find more dead clones. One of them just face down in the river that they've been traveling down.
And they're like, fuck.
And Anakin is like determined to bring him in alive. He's like, we're gonna get him. We're gonna bring him in with binders, alive.
Mm-hmm.
And Obi-Wan's just like, I hope you're right.
Obi-Wan's like, yeah, let's hope so.
But yeah. And so they read this sign that's like, they find this temple essentially that,
Yeah.
that McKeedrick's has made his like fort.
Yep.
And outside they put a sign and it says, into the night I go, sent there by the winds of death and all who feed its currents.
And I'm like, great.
And then they get jumped by these boys in the river.
Let's be for real. If they had wanted to, they could have taken them out right then and there.
Yeah, so once again, Obi-Wan is trying to lean into what Anakin wants, which is, okay, we're gonna talk about this. We'll be reasonable.
Yep.
In fact, they even give their lightsabers over. They're like, here you go. We're here to talk.
And they're like, oh, all right, yeah, we'll let you talk to the boss.
I mean, very sinisterly, but yes, because the follow does not look kind.
He doesn't. No, they don't.
He looks like follow.
He looks fucking like a lunatic.
Yeah. And so, like,
And Obi-Wan's thinking, God damn, this place is like dripping with evil
dark,
juice.
yeah, like, I feel the dark side on this place.
It's not
very-
gonna be easy at all.
Apparently, this was, like, according to the what Obi-Wan's thinking about, this was apparently one of the big fighting positions in the Jedi Sith War.
There's like
It was a Sith stronghold.
there's dark side all over this place. I don't think I can talk him out of this one, but I'm gonna try.
Yeah, because he says specifically in his inner monologue, the outpost was built from the ruins of an ancient temple dating back a millennium. A few wrecked runic markings told me this place had once belonged to the Sith. This would have been a dark side stronghold during the Jedi Sith War. So, yeah, no, McKeedrick's picked a terrible place
Yeah.
to make his stronghold, mainly because whether you are a Force user or not,
It can still affect you.
yes. Especially the dark side, because
Yeah.
it's a drug. It's very much like you are in its presence, and you are going to end up taking the drug whether you want to or not. And we've come upon McKeedrix, who is like full blown like Conan the Barbarianing.
Mhm.
Like he's got like barely any armor with like some pieces like here and there.
Yep.
He's got like a little strap, and then like a bandolier strap, and then like a sword, like straight up just a sword.
Yep.
It's a really cool shot, actually.
It is. However, it's one of those like narrative cues of this is not a good thing.
No, like this is telling us that Obi-Wan is probably like right that this is not going to go the
Yeah.
way that we probably want it to.
And then they have a bit of a dialogue about whether he's
Light
like,
and dark side,
light and dark, and he's like, does life really matter, have any meaning? We're just going to have to kill and
everything
die.
ends with death.
Yeah. And he at one point fully stops and explains, oh yeah, by the way, this sword is made out of clone trooper bones. And I'm like,
And then like
we're not taking this one back. This is my thought at the time. I'm like, we're not taking this one back
and
alive.
I think it becomes even clearer to Anakin that they're not once like Obi-Wan asks, "Hey, what were the names of the clones that you took the bones from?" And McKeedrix does the very dark side thing, at least in the Clone Wars, because we've noticed that dark side or people that are more along the dark side alignment, whether they're Force users or not, tend to not see the clones as people.
He's like,
And he says, like, nah, they don't have names, just numbers and letters.
it's
Off an assembly line.
he's like, we didn't give them those numbers.
Yeah, he's like, they have names.
They have, like, he's like, the Republic gave them those numbers, and Obi-Wan's like, yeah, but individually they have names.
Yeah, and he was like, there was Arrow, which was the flag bearer who died.
Yep.
And then there was Cody, who served with us. And once again, Obi-Wan's like, give us the name of the clone that died to do that. And McKeedrick's like, no, I ain't playing these riddles game, and names don't have meaning anymore. Because, like, even he's kind of shedded away his name.
Yeah,
Like-
names don't have meaning. There's no purpose in a name.
And
Who cares?
so, like,
Die.
yeah, like, Obi-Wan attempts, and finally, like, McKeedrix is just like, nope, I'm killing you. And
Obi-Wan, I think, is like, I'm
not gonna,
not even gonna try.
because he knows that Anakin's gonna just, I think he knows, I think that's part of why he doesn't, but I think it's also to prove his point, because I am curious if Anakin didn't intervene, if McKeedrix would have stopped himself. And I think
he
that,
would
I don't
have.
know if that's what Obi-Wan was counting on, though.
I think that's what he's like, well, it's either gonna work or it isn't, in which case I will be dead.
Yeah, and if it doesn't work and I die, then hopefully I sacrifice myself to get that message still. Because even if he dies, he's counting on McKeedrix to come to the light once that happens.
Yeah.
Unfortunately,
But Anakin is not about taking that chance.
Anakin is like, nope, stab in the gut. He even grabs the sword out of his hand. And of course, he apologizes immediately. And Obi-Wan's like, no,
No,
you're fine.
you're fine. This had to be done.
And even
I don't. Neither of them like it, but they're like, this is one of those things that has to be done sometimes.
and it turns out, McKeedrix wanted to die. Because once Anakin stabs him, he's like, "I'm sorry, I tricked you into doing that. It was the only way I could go back." And then he dies.
Like, it's all over now.
And Obi-Wan's just like, "Yep, he's home now." And unfortunately, that didn't affect Anakin well.
No.
All right, so we finally hit the last story, which
Yeah.
is now just in the present.
The morning after.
Yeah, it's the morning after the sandstorm, and so it turns out this Imperial official sends out one of his men to get, well, I think it's to get the rations for or whatever. What was it specifically? I'm looking through.
I think you're right. And that's rations.
Oh yeah, some rations went missing because during the storm somebody stole some rations, and they think it's the Tuscans stole them.
Yeah, and my initial thought upon seeing this is like, okay, you're jumping to so many conclusions here.
Well, Imperials and racism.
Yeah. I'm like, you couldn't do some basic deductive reasoning?
But anyways, he sends out the this commander and some of his stormtroopers, and is like, "Hey, go to the nearest Tuscan village because we know where they are, and just kill them all."
And
he
the commander is like, "Wait a minute, hold on. That's not a good idea."
And he's once again proving the point that the bad guys don't use names. He, instead of saying the commander's number, calls him JM909, and it's like, "You got a problem with my order?"
It's like, no, it's just if we do this, it might
get worse.
It might get worse, and some other clans may join in and attack us. I'm like, this is one of those times where I think a little bit of practicality in the Imperial Command would save you a lot of paperwork.
Unfortunately, I know I'm about to get a little political here.
Go on.
Much like our military industrialization system, they don't like when our soldiers have free thoughts and which we're one of the few militaries that act that way, where it's like we actually did. Like, if somebody disobeys a command but still gets the goal accomplished, we still punish them.
No, that's not what we fucking told you to do, is it?
It's weird that we're one of the few countries that do that, but... but yeah, basically under essentially threat of court-martial.
It's like, fine, I'll go handle it.
And beyond that, honestly, beyond court-martial, because he threatens hard labor. He's like, "I'll sell you this hard labor if you don't do this.
If you do not do your job, not only will I court-martial you, I will sell you into slavery."
Essentially, he doesn't say that. He just says, "or hard labor," and in Imperial terms, we can...
Here's my question, right?
Yeah.
So this happens on Tatooine. I assume it's because the Empire has a station here.
Yes, because the way... Are you about to ask how, the Hutts and the Imperials kind of coexist?
I know that they do work together sometimes.
Yeah, because we've seen the relationship between the Empire and the Hutts. Unfortunately, it didn't end well for the Hutts later on.
No.
But, during this time, they're coexisting efficiently.
Why would you do this? This seems like something that would get Mr. Crime Boss involved.
I don't think he minds if a few Tuscan dies.
Oh yeah.
Because Jabba also is annoyed with the
care.
Tuscans. They don't care about... Nobody cares about the Tuscans until, Book of Boba Fett.
Yeah.
When it comes to, everyday... Well, that's not true. Mandalorian, Din Djarin cares, but outside of that...
Yeah, it's pretty rare. Because most of the times they're seen as an obstacle to, daily life on Tatooine. And I'm like...
No, you're stealing their water.
I'm like, come on, man. They were minding their own business.
You came to their planet. I mean, I'm joking with how I'm saying it, but that's essentially the facts. That's how the Tuscans view it.
That's how the Tuscans view it.
They're like, we lived here first. This is our water that our gods gave us. And now you motherfuckers are coming in and stealing our water. And then when we try to take our water back, you guys shoot us.
It's like, we're just fucking moisture farming. We're not hoovering up your whatever.
But that is how that works, though. Like, the moisture farming is taking up the water of the planet.
Yeah, but not
Because
from
we
the
already talked
same-
about this a few weeks ago. There's not a lot of water to go around.
Not from this. Whatever. Who cares?
What, only 7%?
No, it's less than 7%.
That's right.
We said 1%.
We said it was 7. Like, at first, I remember 7 being a number that was brought up. I think you said, I thought initially it was about maybe 7%. No, it's less than that.
It's 1%. There is no fucking surface water here.
Yeah.
And it's like, I'm like, this is a dumb plan at every level.
Yeah. But anyway, so
They're like, all right,
stormtroopers
we're
go
gonna-
out to go boom, so to blast some
and
Tuskens. And-
Jim has some reservations about
Are
this.
we just calling him Jim for now?
Well, that's what he's going to be named later.
yeah.
But also, that is kind of what his Imperial code
Well,
numbers.
it's JM.
Yeah, Jim.
I could say it's Jam if we're gonna make up letters in the middle of the
Just Jim.
Jam.
Jim Jim.
Jim.
Jim Jim Jim.
Jim.
Jim 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 9.
909.
So they go and they're like, well,
Okay, so they go where they think they find some, and they start blasting. They kill the mastiffs, which are basically like killing their dogs.
show up and kill a dog.
It's basically like killing
why?
Yeah, it's basically like killing their dogs because, like, we see in Mandalorian, you haven't seen, but for people who have seen Mandalorian season 1 and 2, they're basically dogs.
No, we see one in Book of Boba Fett.
Yeah, that's
as
right.
well.
Yeah, they're basically just dogs.
I'm like, fuck, man.
They're scaly dogs.
I'm like, the dog too?
And like, well, they don't stop there because don't they shoot the banthas too? Or no,
No, not in this one.
But they shoot what they think are the villagers, only to turn out no, the Tuskens are smarter than that.
Yeah, they're like, haha.
Surprise attack! They've managed to get them. They bowled them in.
Yep.
Because they got them into like this valley where they thought that the Tuskens had villaged up, which it was where their village was.
Yes.
But they had already evacuated
Yep,
essentially.
They had set up a little scarecrow.
And so, yeah. So the troopers shot at the scarecrow, only to then get surrounded and shot at by the Tuskens, who were outside the bowl. And Jimboree gets knocked out.
He got lucky as hell.
Yeah, that's all he gets. He gets knocked out. That's actually very, that once again showing that the Tuskens have some.
They would have killed him.
They have some
but
compassion.
they left him because they thought he was dead.
Yeah. No.
No, let's not paint colors. This is what happened.
No,
They fully try to kill him.
Yeah, no, because they crack his helmet. Like there's that crack right there.
Yeah.
Back of the. Although his helmet looks fine in that panel, but like.
Yeah, but that's not the back of his helmet.
Actually, that's a different trooper because he doesn't have
Oh.
the Commander Pauldron.
Oh yeah, that is a different guy. They were going for the kill.
Nah,
But that's not.
If they were going for the kill, you double tap. You make sure that's dead.
Oh yeah. You know who else should? No, I'm not gonna make that joke, because that is uncalled for.
You know who else should have double tapped?
Mm.
That soldier in The Last of Us.
I don't think that's an option for him.
He should have gone faster.
Go faster.
Bro was like, I shot your kid, but now I'm gonna leave you standing there.
You're missing a very important part of
No,
that
I
scene.
know.
But
Tommy comes in to save the day.
Yeah. Obi-Wan is looking and he's like, yep. That's a thing that happened here on Tatooine because no one cares about anyone else.
Yeah. And so like the Tuskens
That's how it is here.
and like the Tuskens showing their showing that they're not just like
they're not
mindless beings. They take the guns and rifles and are like,
Yeah.
"Oh, cool. We have upgraded weapons."
Yeah.
Empire once again being idiots.
Yep.
They basically just gave the Tuskens better weapons. Not that the Tuskens will rely on them too heavily, though. Like, they
Yeah.
still will be like, well, if we don't have to use these, we'll use
We'll
our
use
own
our
stuff.
own ones.
But yeah, so Obi-Wan
don't-
picks, like, on, like, the surface because he's looking for battery packs.
Yeah.
Because he's looking for power and rations and stuff like that. And he figures, okay, dead stormtroopers, they'll have some ration packs, they'll have some battery packs. Tuskens took most of the rations already. Actually, I think they took all of them, yeah, because it says they're empty. So Tuskens took the rations because, once again, we killed these enemies, let's take their food.
Yep.
Because they're not going to need it.
They're hungry.
Yep. Tuskens aren't going to need it. Troopers aren't going to need it. Troopers aren't going to need it, they're dead.
Yep.
So Tuskens are like, our food.
Yep.
But Obi-Wan's like, okay, well, Tuskens at least don't care about technology that much, so they're going to leave the batteries.
Yep.
So as long as I get there before the jaw was due.
Yep.
I can't be upcharged like an Obi-Wan Kenobi. And so, yeah, no, the stormtroopers wanted the rifles the whole time. Turned out that they stole they fake stealing the rations from the Imperials to get that Imperial commander riled up.
Yep.
And cause what happened to happen because they wanted guns. They needed new weapons. So.
And Obi-Wan's like, all right. Oh, shit, you're alive.
Yeah. Oh, let me help you.
All right.
So he puts him on his EOP and they go out into the desert and back to his house where he then takes care of him.
Mm-hmm.
And then Stormtrooper's like, wait a minute. You're a Jedi. What the fuck?
And Obi-Wan does not give a damn.
He's like, I don't care if you know me. My name's Ben. How you doing? What's your name? And he's like, JM909. Oh, Jim?
Yep.
He's like, and he's like, I'm your friend now. And Jim's like, no, we're not. We're not friends. Fuck you, old man. Like, aiming his lightsaber at Obi-Wan.
And Obi-Wan's like, you can take it if you want it.
Yeah, Obi-Wan's just having tea.
Like, I'm not gonna fucking be using that.
And so, yeah. So, instead, Jim drops the
He's
lightsaber
like,
and runs.
This is weird. I'm leaving.
I need to take a quick break.
Okay.
But we'll be right back to wrap this.
Yep. We're almost at the end.
Feeling free and it feels alright. Oh, time to do the things I like. Gonna see a princess, everything's alright. Oh, no job but I answer to. Ain't a fixture in the palace zoo. No, and since the carbonite's off me, I'm living life now that I'm free. Yeah, told me get myself together. Now I got myself together. Now I made it through the weather. Better days are gonna get better. I'm so happy. The carbonite is gone. I'm moving on. I'm so happy that it's over now. The pain is gone. Shades of cover up my eyes. I'm jumping in my ride. I'm heading out tonight. I'm solo. I'm hot and solo. I'm hot and solo. I'm hot and solo. Solo. Picking up my blaster, putting it on my side. I'm jumping in my Falcon. Wookie at my side. I'm solo. I'm hot and solo. I'm hot and solo. I'm hot and solo. Solo. I'm hot and solo. I'm hot and solo. Solo. Now I'm feeling how I should join the alliance, it feels so good. Oh, stop feeling misunderstood. Back in the game, who knew I would? Oh, so fly time I spread my wings. Loving myself makes me wanna sing. No, oh yeah, 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 yeah. Told me get my act together. Now I got my act together. Yeah, now I made it through the weather. Better days are gonna get better. I'm so happy, the carbonite is gone. I'm moving on. I'm so happy that it's over now. The pain is gone. Shades of cover up my eyes. I'm jumping in my ride. I'm heading out tonight. I'm solo. I'm hot and solo. I'm hot and solo. I'm hot and solo. Solo. Picking up my blaster, putting it on my side. I'm jumping in my
Okay.
Hello.
Yeah, sorry about that. Had to take that break. We left off though. Jim ran off with.
Yep.
He left the lightsaber though. Which why? What, bro? You took it. Take it.
Might be on account of a concussion.
Yeah. But yeah, so he steals Obi-Wan's EOP though,
Yep.
and Grand Theft EOP.
Yep.
GTE. GTE Mos Eisley.
Obi-Wan's not worried because there's Akani. Oh, no. AOP. Akani is its name. Obi-Wan's not worried. He's like, Akani will come back home.
Yeah. And so Jim reports to his officer who, instead of like being like, hey, let's
Having
get to your
any
medical
sympathy
like,
at all.
he basically like stripped, I think he stripped some of his rank because
You're being demoted.
yeah.
What?
He's like, you failed, and this is your failure, not mine, and you're no longer commander. And clean out your clean your armor. You look like a beggar. And like,
Obi-Wan's like, I never saw Jim again.
yeah, but Jim is just like, what the fuck, bro?
The fuck, man?
But yeah, we never learned what happened to Jim. But that's the end, because after that, like, basically Obi-Wan is basically coming to the realization that things are about to
Kick off again.
they're about to kick off, and because basically this almost happens
Like
not-
right before the start of episode 4.
like it's pretty close. And so specifically, I'll read the final page
Yeah.
of Obi-Wan's thoughts. I feel that my time here may be drawing to an end. For these long and desolate years, I have often felt alone, but truthfully, I never have been. And because the Force is my guide, I never will be, for none of us is alone, even in our darkest hour. The end.
Mm.
So at the end, he, still sees the light, which is something he's struggling with throughout that journal, like throughout this comic series. And of course, we see like panels from stuff that we know from A New Hope. So we see like Luke looking at the twin suns, and we see when Vader steps on Obi-Wan's cape after it cuts him down and stuff like that. But that's the comic. So it's a bit of a downer, but it has that
It's bittersweet.
beacon of it has that beacon of hope at the end. 8 out of 10.
Yeah. No. 9.
9.
9.
Ooh. I almost went there, but then I was like, do I want to go to 9? Nah. But you, okay.
Careful.
I could bump it to 8.5. I could see 8.5.
Careful, writers. High praise from me does not come easily.
And that, speaking of, let me check who did that, because they do. Whoever wrote this does deserve
They did a very
to be
good one.
shouted out to, because they worked really well. Like, the writing is really good.
So
in
did the
this.
artists.
Yeah, the art is good as well. Which a lot of the Flash. So I think for the most part it's the same artist, but like for each little short specific comic, you can tell that the art's different. Like the Kid Obi-Wan one has this more stylized cartoon style, and then you get to the Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon one, which has more of a horror coloring into it, and the Obi-Wan one, the Clone Wars one the first one goes into more bright colors again, even though it's like telling this really dark story.
Mm-hmm.
Reminds me a lot of the older Clone Wars comics that aren't canon anymore. And then the second Clone Wars comic is a little bit more realism blended. Yeah. And then the final comic is kind of just the continuation of what the rest of the main comic has been, which is kind of this blend of realism, like with cartoony style. It was written by, where is it? Christopher Cantwell.
You did a good job. I liked it.
Yeah. And then we got all the artists here too, but
you all did a very good job.
Yeah, I think it was really well done. I don't think we need any more Obi-Wan for a minute now, because we've got most of Obi-Wan's story. I think the only Obi-Wan stuff I want to see is like younger, like pre-episode 1 Obi-Wan. That's the only stuff I really care for at this point for Obi-Wan's story. No, not that.
I think that's everything.
Oh, that makes sense. Christopher Cantwell's a filmmaker as well, so that explains why the writing is the way it is. They've also worked on some other comics. They worked on Iron Man. They worked on a Doctor Doom. They've worked on Namor. Currently working on Hellcat, and working on a Star Trek comic. So they've done that. They've been around.
All right.
But yeah, so that's it for really the review of this episode. I recommend it. Just know going in, it is bitter. Like we said, it's bittersweet. It's definitely one of those you have to be like in the mood and prepared for. I mean, I think the first two are fun because while the first issue is Obi-Wan learning a lesson of fear and letting go, it's still done in a fun way where you don't get into your feelings too much yet. Second issue, you're still not quite getting into your feelings because that one still a little bit about fear and, being willing to let go and just listen to the Force. But once again, not quite going into any extreme trauma. 3 through 5. Issues 3 through 5 is where the trauma's at. That's where the emotional damage is, so to speak. So next week, we should have a guest. I tried to reach out. I haven't heard back yet, but I'm double checking. But they did schedule like a while back. So we should have It's Victoria, y'all, joining us to talk Dr. Aphra Volume 5, The Spark Eternal.
Oh, boy.
And then in 2 weeks, they will be joining us again to discuss Darth Vader Volume 5, The Shadow's Shadow. But in between those, we will also talk the Battle of Jeddah, so we'll have a High Republic in between.
Okay. Shadows.
The Shadow's Shadow. But no, next week is...
Sounds like a Pokemon.
But next week is Dr. Aphra. Are you excited to go back to Aphra?
I'm not opposed to it.
Are you excited to go back to the mainline Star Wars comics, I should say, I guess, then? Rather than High Republic era. When I say mainline, I mean like Dr. Aphra, Vader, Bounty Hunters.
Yeah, that'll be fine.
We're not getting a big storyline, which is why we're separating the series at the moment. Because right now we're getting like the story in between the major arc that's going on, which is currently the major arc is, of course, they're doing the big finale of the trilogy of Crimson Dawn stories.
Yeah, the Crimson Syndicate.
Crimson Dawn. But they had an in-between story first before they got to the next part. So we're getting that in-between story first, which means I can separate those into their own separate reviews because they're not interconnected. So yeah, the last issue of the last review for this month will be Dr. Aphra.
All right.
And then I guess I'll reveal February's list.
Okay.
Next week.
All right.
And I think that's everything.
Yeah, it should be, right?
Yep.
With that,
anything you want to talk about before I do my run through everything?
I don't think so. Is there something you want to talk about?
Discord.
It's
public.
It's public?
Okay. It's public. It's public now.
All right.
So
fine with me.
That's gonna go into the spiel I give at the end of every episode.
Yep. Might as well.
So thank you all for watching. If you are watching on YouTube, it is youtube.com/Escape Films for those who are not. You can like this video and subscribe to the channel. We have a bunch of things down below in the little description, and I'm about to get into those as well. But secondly, I also want to bring up the Twitch, because we have Twitch as well. We co-stream at the same time. I fixed the issue of whatever was going on, but it's working. It's fine. because for a few weeks we were having that thing where Twitch couldn't see us but could hear us.
Oh yeah.
I figured it out. So Twitch, you're fine now. And you can find us on twitch.tv/Escape Reality Films because everything's been rebranded to Escape Reality Films. You can also follow us on Patreon if you really like our content. We have a Patreon. And on this Patreon, I'm going to have to change some descriptions now because originally it gave you access to the Discord. No longer does it give you exclusive access to the Discord, but it does give you access to exclusive channels in the Discord. And we're going to try to be more active.
Yeah.
We need to bring
Passing thought.
we need to bring the Discord back to life. It's been
We have to fucking.
it needs to be resuscitated. Yeah, it probably needs more than resuscitation. Yeah, it probably needs straight on, like, clear. Because I do want to do some events, but we need people.
Yeah.
And so that's why I'm making it public, so that way we can have more interaction with our community. And two, it will reward people that are already there and that are already our patrons, because I'm going to give them access to certain channels that are only for them. Which is what the Patreon will give you. And you can find the Patreon at patreon.com/Escape Reality Films, which is one of the things in the little description box on the YouTube version. The other thing that's not in the description box on the YouTube version, but as I've alluded to now, is the Discord link. So the Discord link I will add to the description of this video. I did not think to do it before going live.
Whoops.
Mainly because I made the Discord public today.
Oh, today.
Well, because I was already thinking about it.
Yeah.
I wanted to leave it as a surprise for as close as possible. So this morning I was like, I'll make it live now. And then when we do the show, I'll announce it.
All right.
And so you can find the link, though, in two places easily. It is on the homepage of our YouTube channel, along with our Patreon link. It is also on the Twitch homepage for us, on our homepage, so twitch.tv Escape Reality Films.
Yeah.
It's on the homepage there, along, once again, with the Patreon link. So all the links are there. They are easily found. And if you join us on Discord, we will happily welcome you. I want to do movie nights. I want to do game nights. I want to do things. We're gonna make things happen. Which means I'll probably have to start saying no to doing things beyond the company. But yeah, the Patreon, though, going back to Patreon, also gives you access to the comic book I'm working on, where you can get some work in progress art, which we've been getting some lately. I gotta figure out if we're gonna have some tomorrow or not. I haven't talked to Colton yet. But we also give you access to our YouTube videos a week before they're uploaded to YouTube. So anything that's exclusively YouTube original for us content, so stuff that isn't co-streamed on Twitch and YouTube at the same time, like this, or like any of my Twitch stream nights, that's exclusively for YouTube. That is also on Patreon a week before it's on YouTube. So more reason to check out the Patreon. And of course there's other prizes and gifts and stuff. The more you show your support, the more you get, including my books, Super Worlds and Time Ninja, and the short story collection, The Coat Wars Volume 1. And I guess I can talk about that. I'm talking about my books. I have been working on my Super World sequel. I've been in the mood to write it lately. So I've been getting some notes down. I'm in this process of where I'm doing both outlining, where it's a combo outlining and like actually writing. Because that's just the way I write. I'll do like a partial outline, and then I'll do a more in-depth outline, and then a more until it's like an actual until it's actually the story. And that's where I'm kind of at, is the part where I'm like in depth. And I just finished a major character death.
Oh boy.
Without giving away who and what happens. So I finished a major character death 2 days ago. Today I'm going to be working on the chapter after, a chapter that takes place concurrently with it, but is also going to be after, because I'm writing it in a way, once again, I'm outlining / detailing at the same time. So I'm writing it in a way where it's both, like, I'm writing it out of order only to eventually reshuffle
Put it
everything
all
into
back
order.
together.
Yeah. I'm just like, okay, what's the main plot line here? Plot line A. Okay, plot line B. Plot line C. Okay, now how do we collab them?
All right.
And so, yeah. So keep an eye here
Yeah.
for the sequel, Super Worlds Rise of the Evil King. I planned the name for a while
Yeah.
now. I've already got
Okay.
the art, but yeah. Other things we got to shout out,
Shout out
To
to
Mopcast Network?
Network,
which the
which
thing I
has
was
been
here.
working you today, huh?
That was the thing I was here for today, yeah. And so we filmed our episode. So last week we did not do the episode. We did it this week where we talked about the Quick and the Dead. That's what we did today. So that should be out this week.
Mm-hmm.
I think from now on we're going to be every 2 weeks, just so that way everybody's lives and schedules can work with
Become
this.
a little bit easier.
So this week, Quick and the Dead review episode should come out, or discussion episode, I
Yep.
should say. And so we'll be discussing Quick and the Dead, which will be fun. We changed the format a little bit, where we kept a lot of the same stuff, but we added new things.
Mm-hmm.
And then the episode after that, in 2 weeks from now, will be a cult meeting where we'll just be talking about whatever. And you can find Mobcast Network stuff on youtube.com/Mobcast Network, but you can also find them on any podcasting app that is available. If it has a podcast, it has Mobcast.
Yep.
Um,
There's also, should we talk about Engage Gaming in there?
yeah, I was about to get to them.
Oh, yeah.
So we also want to thank Gamers and Geeks and Engage Gaming. Gamers and Geeks is the one who provides the space to Mobcast Network, who then in turn provide it to us. Gamers and Geeks is our local gaming shop that is right here on Moffett, Moffett and my brain just House
What does it
Ferry,
start with? Oh,
House Ferry and
my
Moffett.
God, you did that because I was going to fuck that up.
Yeah, it's House Ferry and Moffett. Because House Ferry becomes Cody going that way, but it's still House Ferry if you continue that way. But yeah, so off House Ferry and Moffett, and it's our local gaming shop. They have everything you could look for in terms of gaming. Along with them, inside the same building, is Engage Gaming, which is more video game stuff. That is a video game rental sort of thing where you can. It's basically like a rental arcade sort of deal. The way they do it, where you pay hourly and virtual arcade. I guess that's really I think that's the term for that type of thing. Business. I don't know. You basically can gain access to Xbox, PlayStations, PCs, and even a VR machine for an hourly rate. If you pay like a membership fee, a monthly membership fee, you get a decreased hourly fee for using the machines. And they also provide the video games because like there's a whole when you go to their thing to pay them, there's a whole box of video games. That's like they have a whole case. And so I think that's everything. Well, also shout out our patrons and our Twitch subscriber. Shout out to our patron, Jennifer Brantley. Thank you once again for continuing your patronage to the channel. And to our buddy Matt, thank you for continuing with his 3rd month now of Twitch subscription. All that eventually helps. Twitch less so because we can't access it until we've made $50, but.
All right.
So we haven't done that yet, but we can access the Patreon funds because
Yeah.
Patreon doesn't care if I grab it.
So, nah.
But I'm probably not going to right now. But because I don't need to buy anything for the show at the moment.
Okay.
Should have bought Obi-Wan comic in person, but
Oh,
like a physical copy. Oh well. Maybe I'll try to see if I can get Afra for next week.
maybe.
It's harder to find trades lately.
Really?
Like, because normally, this will be the last thing I talk about before we go. I am physically finding trades used to not be that bad for me.
Mm-hmm.
Now, to put some clarification into this, we have like one comic book shop in the area, and it's open at weird hours, so I never go there. So when I do get my comics, I go I know I'm about to get booed by so many comic book fans. I go to Books A Million.
Okay.
I go to a traditional bookstore for my comic books. I know. And it used to not be bad.
Mm-hmm.
But our Books A Million has like reshuffled the way that they carry books and comics, and it's harder to find Star Wars comic books. I can find any other comic book just fine, like Marvel comic books, specifically trades. They don't carry single issues. They used to. They used to carry single issues, which I kind of miss those days. Because then I could easily get single issues as well. I don't care. I don't care about single issues as much nowadays, though. Physically, I get single issues digitally these days. But I like having the trades physical. Now I'm stuck to Amazon, and I don't want to go through Amazon and waiting who knows how long till I get it. So
Sorry about yawning. I didn't.
no,
I
no,
don't mean
I
to-
understand. Book talk is boring enough.
No, it's not that. It's just that I haven't been sleeping well recently.
Oh, I noticed because you had a chance to be here earlier,
Yeah.
and I texted you first. Okay, this is the last thing.
Yeah. Okay.
I-
Go on and explain to them.
I texted you before I came here to do Mobcast stuff. I texted you as soon as I figured out that was the plan, that we were gonna be here at noon, and I waited till, well, I knew last night, but I waited till this morning because I was like, I'll text him this morning in the morning. So I texted you this morning when I woke up around 9, because like for some reason, even though I was up late, I woke up 9 just and fine.
Yep.
Normally does not happen. But I texted you then, and I was like, hey, so Mobcast wants to film here at noon, so I'm going to be here at noon, and then we'll do our show after instead of on time. Do you want me to pick you up before or after? You didn't answer. So I figured, okay, he's probably still asleep, and I figured you'd answer closer to time. I get ready, and it's about 11:30, almost noon. I send a question mark rather than asking the whole thing again, because that's what I do when nobody answers. Yeah. Rather than re-asking the question, I will just send a question mark to see, okay, did they read it? Because I don't want to send you the same message twice. If you didn't answer me, then I'm not sending it again. You didn't answer.
No.
So I get done getting ready, and I'm driving. I am on my way here. I decide, okay, I'm going to call him. Because more than likely, he probably is still asleep. Maybe he needs me to call him. Because that's happened before, where I'll text you and you're still like you've overslept.
Yeah.
And that's happened. And I'm like, okay, I'll just call him. Because he usually picks up his phone when I call him. And I decide, just in case he says yes, that I need to pick him up, I'm going to go his route rather than straight to G&G. Which adds to the drive time by about like 5 minutes, if that. And so I'm already chosen the path without hearing back from you, that I'm like, in case he says yes, that way I don't have to turn around. I'm just going to go straight that way. I call, no answer. And so I'm like, well, I'm going to just go there. I'm going to continue down this direction. If I don't hear back from him, then I'll just pass his house and I'll go to G&G. You call before I get to that point.
Yeah.
You call like a couple minutes after I called. So thankfully not long after I committed myself. And so like you call and you're like, I'm like, hey, so did you see my message? Do you want to I assume you hadn't even seen it. That's why I was like, did you want to stay or did you want me to pick you up? And you're like, you can pick me up later. And I'm like, okay. And that's the story of how today went. From my perspective.
So my original reason for getting up, I was like, all right, I'm going to have to go. And because I'm like, it's going to be around 12 o'clock. He's probably going to get here.
Yep.
So I need to be up at like 11.
Yeah, it was already like, because I had to be here at noon. So I was already calling you by like 11:30.
Yeah. And I got up because I thought my alarm had went off. because it makes the same sound as my phone ringing.
As most phones, unless you change the settings,
Yeah.
that's how they're gonna be.
I went over and I looked at. I saw the 2 messages that you had called, and I open it up. I type in the thing, and I'm like, all right, nah, man, you just go on ahead. And I took my alarm off, moved it forward an hour, and went back to sleep.
Yep. And that's how.
And that's why we're late.
Yeah, that's why.
But
we're
also,
late.
I was like, he's gonna be up there for.
I mean,
like,
we were gonna be late anyways, but this is why we're extra late.
I'm like, he's gonna be up there for like 2 hours. I'm gonna go to sleep.
Yeah. And because of the new stuff, we were still finishing by the time you texted me ready
Yeah.
to go, and I was like,
I was like, it's almost 3:00. Where is he?
yeah.
I was like, 2. I figure it'll be done at 2:10, 2:20.
No, they like to Mobcast. We like our hour and a half, maybe over, and in this case, we went a little over
Yeah.
because we had some new segments. But
ultimately, that's what happened today, and how this happened.
and this only happened because of fucking bringing it full circle because of fucking football.
Oh yeah.
Because Scotty's a big Bills fan, and tomorrow's football day, and he didn't want to be stressed
Oh.
because we would have been filming while the game was going.
Oh boy. All right.
So
I understand.
football gave us Mando, but also took away our time.
Oh well. Blessing and a curse all the same.
All right, that's
Well,
literally
that's
everything for
everything.
real. So once again, thank you all for watching. We'll see you guys
Yeah.
next week with Dr. After Volume 5. I have spoken.
Later, nerd.
You're a nerd!